Arthur Carlton Cuse is an American screenwriter, showrunner and producer, best known as an executive producer and screenwriter for the American television series Lost, for which he made the Time magazine list of the 100 most influential people in the world in 2010. Cuse is considered a pioneer in transmedia storytelling. Early life: Cuse was born in Mexico City, Mexico on March 22, 1959. His parents were American. His father was working in Mexico for Cuse's grandfather, who had a machine tool manufacturing business. Cuse's paternal grandparents were Latvians, of Baltic German heritage. After a few years in Mexico City, his parents moved to Boston, where as a boy, he instantly bonded with the Boston Red Sox and began a lifelong love for the team. A few years after the move to Boston, his dad took a job in Tustin, California. Cuse was raised a Roman Catholic. Cuse went off to boarding school in 10th grade to the Putney School in Putney, Vermont. The school was on a working dairy farm, and placed a strong emphasis on an education in the arts, music and the outdoors. It was at the Putney School, Cuse said, that he realized he wanted to be a writer. Cuse attended Harvard University and was recruited at freshman registration by the freshman crew coach, Ted Washburn, and became part of the rowing team. In his words, he became a hardcore athlete. Cuse's original plan was to attend medical school, but he instead majored in American history. During his junior year at Harvard, Cuse organized a test screening for the makers of the Paramount film Airplane. The producers wanted to record the audience reaction to time the final cut of the jokes in the movie. Cuse said that was when he started thinking about a career in film. Career beginnings: Cuse teamed up with a Harvard classmate, Hans Tobieson, and made a documentary about rowing at Harvard called Power 10. He convinced actor, writer and fellow Harvard graduate George Plimpton to narrate the film. After graduating, Cuse headed for Hollywood, and worked as an assistant to a studio head, then as a script reader. By working as a reader, he said, he learned screenwriting. In 1984, Cuse took a job working as an assistant producer for Bernard Schwartz and then spent a year and a half working on Sweet Dreams, directed by Carol Rice, starring Jessica Lange and Ed Harris. He described the experience as his version of film school. Through a friend, David J. Burke, Cuse was hired as a writer on the Michael Mann series Crime Story. In 1986, Cuse wrote 2 teleplays for the series. Film: Cuse formed a partnership with feature writer Jeffrey Boehm. Working with Boehm, Cuse helped develop the films Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon 3, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Cuse wrote the screenplay for the 2015 disaster film San Andreas. The film was directed by Brad Peyton, starred Dwayne Johnson, and was released in the United States on May 29, 2015. The film opened with a dominant $53.2 million in the U.S., with a worldwide total of $113.2 million. With a global box office total of $468.7 million, San Andreas was the 4th highest-grossing film of summer 2015, beating out Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. It was the 2nd highest-grossing film, for that period, based on an original story. The film was also Warner Bros.' 2nd highest-grossing film of 2015. Television series The Adventures of Briscoe County, Jr. Because of his involvement with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, an executive at Fox, Bob Greenblatt, asked Cuse and Boehm if they would be interested in doing a television version of the old movie serials. Cuse said yes and wrote The Adventures of Briscoe County, Jr., about a Harvard-educated bounty hunter who wants to avenge the death of his father, the most famous lawman in the Old West. Fox gave the go-ahead for the series. Briscoe also had a science fiction element, in the form of a mysterious orb which appears in several episodes. Boehm went back to making features, leaving Cuse to co-create and executive produce the critically acclaimed series. Afterwards, Cuse gave much of the credit for the show's success to actor Bruce Campbell, who played Briscoe County Jr., the lead character. Nash Bridges After Briscoe, Cuse met Don Johnson, who had a commitment from CBS to make a new series. With Johnson's blessing, Cuse went off and wrote the pilot for Nash Bridges. Johnson liked it and CBS did too, ordering 14 episodes off the script without making a pilot. Nash Bridges was the first series that Leigh Moonves greenlit as the head of CBS. It ran for 6 seasons and 121 episodes. Martial Law Cuse created and executive produced the CBS series Martial Law, starring Arsenio Hall and Sammo Hung Campo, one of martial arts legend Jackie Chan's closest friends and collaborators. Cuse adapted the world of Hong Kong cinema to American television in a story about a Shanghai cop who comes to the LAPD on an exchange program. A team of 8 top Chinese stuntmen and coordinators out of Hong Kong were hired. Stanley Tong, who had directed many of Jackie Chan's biggest Hong Kong features, directed the pilot. Sammo Hung became the first Chinese actor to star as the lead in an American TV series. Cuse was running both Martial Law and Nash Bridges simultaneously. The workload became creatively and physically difficult, which led to him leaving Martial Law, and focus exclusively on Nash Bridges. Another factor, Cuse said, were creative differences with Sammo Hung about the future direction of Martial Law. Lost. Cuse was an executive producer and joint showrunner on Lost with Damon Lindelof. They met in the 6th season of Nash Bridges. Cuse hired Lindelof, giving him his first staff writer job on a television series. A few years later Lindelof and J.J. Abrams wrote the pilot for Lost. Shortly after the Lost pilot was shot, Abrams left the show to do Mission Impossible 3 with Tom Cruise. Lindelof had no experience as a showrunner and called Cuse for star-running advice on the side. He then asked Cuse to come work on the show. The Cuse-Lindelof partnership was very productive. They wrote roughly a third of the episodes together as well as star-running the series in tandem, overseeing all the creative work on the series, including all story construction, rewrites, casting, production, editing, music and marketing. Cuse said, "A great partnership can lead to great TV. In the case of Lost it worked out great. I could not have had a better partner than Damon." Reaction to the Lost finale: the end was watched by 13.5 million Americans and received a strongly polarized response from both fans and critics. Reviewers from the Chicago Tribune and IGN called it the best episode of the season and praised its emotion and character. Negative reviews from the Los Angeles Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer criticized the finale for answering so few of the series' questions. Website Metacritic gave the end a score of 74 out of 100, suggesting mostly positive reviews, while The Guardian and The Daily Telegraph reported mostly negative reviews. The future of Lost, Cuse told Digital Spy, "Disney owns the franchise, it made them a lot of money, it's hard to imagine it will just sit there idly forever. Damon and I told our story in that world and I assume someone will come along, hopefully having been inspired by our story, or our version of the story, and want to tell their own story. It's like the Narnia Chronicles. There are 7 books, they were all written by C.S. Lewis, but they all visit Narnia at different times and different configurations and different ways. Someone is going to come up with a way to tell another Lost story. I think it's inevitable. I don't know what it is or how it would work, but I can't imagine something else won't be done with the franchise." Bates Motel Cuse is showrunner, co-developer, writer and executive producer of the A&E series Bates Motel, along with Kerry Ehrin. Bates Motel is a contemporary prequel to Psycho, exploring the formative years of Norman Bates as well as his relationship with his mother, Norma, and the world they inhabit. The first season received critical praise, with Vera Farmiga being nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series in 2013. Season 2 premiered on March 3, 2014, with 4.6 million total viewers and delivered 2.6 million adults 18 euro 49 and 2.2 million adults 25 euro 54. The third season premiered on March 9, 2015. The series continues to be A&E's #1 drama series of all time among adults in the 18 euro 49 demographic. Cuse and Ehrin have stated they will end the series after 5 seasons. In April 2015, Cuse said, I defy anyone to watch this show and not really be completely connected to Norma and Norman. And now that bond you have with these characters is going to completely inform the rollercoaster ride of the last 2 seasons. The Strain Cuse is showrunner, executive producer, developer and writer of The Strain, an FX drama series based on the vampire novel trilogy by co-authors Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. Del Toro co-wrote, directed and produced the pilot episode. Hogan also helped write the screenplay for the first episode. The Strain premiered on July 13, 2014. In the first book, The Strain, a Boeing 777 lands in Washington, D.C. with all the passengers dead and signs that a strange being had been aboard the plane. Then it is discovered that all this is the work of vampires out to put an end to civilization. FX ordered a 13-episode second season, which premiered on July 12, 2015. On August 7, 2015, FX Network renewed The Strain for a third season. Cuse and Del Toro also announced a 5-year plan for The Strain. From the very beginning, we talked about the first book being the first season, the second book being the next 2 seasons and the third book the last 2 seasons. Cuse also said that the last 3 seasons would be 10 episodes each. We see The Strain as a closed tale, and we'd very much like to keep it that way. The Returned Cuse was showrunner, co-developer, writer and executive producer of The Returned, based on the popular and international Emmy Award-winning French suspense series Les Revenants, adapted by Fabrice Gobert and inspired by the feature film, They Came Back, directed by Robin Campillo. Rael Tucker also served as showrunner and executive producer. The 10-episode first season premiered on March 9, 2015. It is filmed in Squamish, British Columbia, Canada. The series focused on a small town that is turned upside down when several local people, who have been long presumed dead, suddenly reappear. The Returned was co-produced by A+E Studios and Fremantle Media North America in association with Haute Court TV SAS, the producer of the French series, for A&E Network. Fremantle Media distributes the series internationally, excluding the US and Canada, distributed by A+E Studios. The show was cancelled after 1 season in June 2015. Colony Cuse and Ryan Condal are showrunners, co-creators and executive producers of Colony for the USA Network, a co-production between Legendary Television and Universal Cable Prods. Colony is a family drama thriller about life in Los Angeles after a mysterious foreign occupation, and the efforts by the proxy government to crush the growing resistance movement. Argentinian director Juan José Copyright Campanella directed the pilot. Colony stars Josh Holloway, who became good friends with Cuse during the filming of Lost. It also stars Sarah Wayne Callies of The Walking Dead. The 10-episode first season of Colony is scheduled to start on January 14 at 10 p.m. Eastern. Jack Ryan Cuse and Graham Rowland are developing a TV series based on Jack Ryan, the CIA analyst character, created by novelist Tom Clancy in the 1980s, with Michael Barry unregistered trademark S Platinum Dunes, Paramount TV and Skydance TV. Amazon Studios has given a series commitment to the project, rather than going through the process of producing a pilot and soliciting viewer feedback. The number of episodes is still to be determined. Jack Ryan will not be a direct adaptation of the books but a new contemporary take on the character in his prime as a CIA analyst operative using the novels as source material. Rowland executive produces with Cuse and Lindsay Springer of Carlton Cuse Prods and Platinum Dunesa unregistered trademark Bay, Brad Fuller and Andrew Form. Rowland and Cuse worked together on Lost and have stayed close, with Rowland recently serving as co-executive producer on Cuse unregistered trademark SA&E drama series The Returned. Current work. Awards and nominations. Cuse has been nominated for 10 Primetime Emmy Awards for his work on Lost and has won twice, first in 2005 for Outstanding Drama Series, then in 2009 for Creative Achievement in Interactive Media. Cuse, along with Lindelof, received 3 nominations for the Golden Globe Award, including a win for Best Television Series, a Eurodrama in 2005. 5 nominations at Producers Guild of America Awards, with a win in 2006 for Television Producer of the Year Award in Episodic Drama. 3 nominations and wins from the American Film Institute. 12 nominations at the Television Critics Association, including 3 wins for Outstanding Achievement in Drama in 2005, 2006 and 2010, and a win for Outstanding New Program in 2005. Cuse received 4 nominations from the Writers Guild of America Awards, including a win in 2006 for Best Dramatic Series, and 5 Saturn Award nominations with 4 wins in 2004, 2005, 2007 and 2009 for Best Network Television Series. Cuse also received nominations from the NAACP Image Awards, the Hugo Awards and the FIOPLI Euro Unregistered Trademark S-Choice Awards. In 2007, Cuse shared the British Academy Television Award for Best International Series for Lost. In 2009, he won the Peabody Award, the Jules Verne Festival Award, the Roma Fiction Fest Special Award, and a GQ 2009 Men of the Year Award. In 2010, he was voted one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. He has also won the TV Guide Award for Martial Law, which was voted the favorite new series in 1999. In 2015, Cuse received Variety Euro Unregistered Trademark S Creative Leadership Award, following past recipients including Judd Apatow and Jerry Weintraub. References. External links: Carlton Cuse at the Internet Movie Database.